Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Max, and today we're going to be talking about why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon and focusing on the timeline aspect of things. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a show that was started in 2014 and followed the MCU, especially in its early stages, but later on broke off a little bit. And this has caused some people to say the show is either not canon or it was canon up until season 5, and then it branched off into its own thing. And there's a lot of different takes out there. But I'm going to go over in this video why I believe the entire show is canon based on the timeline, and maybe tie in some other character aspects that I had in the previous video and touch upon things I will mention in future videos. Alright, so when it comes to the timeline of the MCU, everything is very specific. There are certain things that happen in certain movies. There are certain events that happen in the MCU which have a greater toll on everybody in the MCU. And this is the main reason why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon based on the timeline, because you can't just have all of these timeline aspects that intersect and then say the show is not canon. For example, the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 focuses very heavily on Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., which is basically the plot of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So you have that connection. You also, in Season 5, have the connection of Thanos starting his assault on Earth. There are also other MCU plot points brought up in the show, such as the Sokovia Accords, and having certain members of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team sign that, in addition to what we see in the Captain America Civil War film. So there's a lot of different plot points that play into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. based on the MCU films, and there's a lot of connections that the show made based on plot points that were in the films before. Now, with these plot points, people say that yes, of course they were able to base things off of the movies, but you have to remember, as much as we're upset at figures at Marvel Studios such as Kevin Feige, we do have to remember that they let Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. use certain things. So it's not like they could just go in and be like, hey, this show is based off of this part of this movie and we're going to, mention it and show it, but it's not going to be connected, or there's going to be nothing really holding it together. No, Kevin Feige and people at Marvel Studios had to give the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. writers permission as to what they could use in the show. And especially in the earlier seasons, there was a lot of communication going back and forth saying, hey, this is the plot point we're going to use. If you want to work off that, this is what's going to happen in the films. So there was a lot going on. Now, this stopped pretty much after season 3 in terms of heavy involvement from characters that were crossing over from the MCU and plot lines that were crossing over from the MCU. However, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always stayed within what they were given. By this, I mean the show never took it upon itself once the connections started getting a little murkier, and this is mainly because Marvel Studios wanted to keep things a secret. With people such as Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland in the world working for such a huge studio and spoiling things along the way, Marvel Studios realized if they wanted to keep their films and their big reveals secrets, they had to do that on a number of levels. And this is not just with the TV shows. I think a lot of people focus on, they allowed timeline things to cross over in the beginning, but then they became more secretive because they didn't want the shows to really know what was going on in the films. No, that's actually not correct at all. What happened is Marvel became a lot more secretive, and specifically Marvel Studios became a lot more secretive with what was going on in their films, to the extent where certain actors did not act in the same room as people they were in scenes with. Brie Larson touched upon this with her appearance as Captain Marvel in Avengers Endgame. She said, I believe, for the Avengers compound meeting, she was talking to a green screen. So this is something that Marvel started doing around the end of season 3 for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And since then, they've gotten even more secretive and protective of everything they have going on in the MCU. This also kind of touches on the timeline aspect, but it's not exactly part of that, though I will touch on it in this video because I feel it relates the best. There are certain lines in the films, specifically Age of Ultron, that tie into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the events of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, yes, these came first in the movies, and I think S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously they were able to write their way into it, but it was not touched upon with their involvement as far as the movies were concerned. But in Age of Ultron, when the Avengers team first goes to confront Wanda and Pietro, this is all because the S.H.I.E.L.D. team was able to give them the coordinates of Loki's scepter, and that's how they found out about this. And I think there was the mention of some twins as well. Now, another connection is when Nick Fury gets the helicarrier and says he got it from old friends. This was the S.H.I.E.L.D. team, and this is maybe the most direct tie-in aside from characters and other plot points, because it's something that affected the movie. And I think that's what really makes the helicarrier aspect stand out, because these were points, and this is when Joss Whedon was still, like the director for the Avengers movies. This is the point where he had this thing going on with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers film, and I'm sure probably having his hands in other things at Marvel at the time. And they were really able to build a good relationship between the show and the films. And sadly, this wasn't continued after Joss Whedon left, and obviously he has some controversies going on now. But at least at the time, he was really invested in the connectivity of the shows and the films and really everything going on, even, going into the Netflix shows. They had mentions of the attack on New York, and there was this nice groundwork laid out where shows such as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have references and very lightly, without directly being referenced, be referenced in the films, without the need to make everything tie together. This kind of goes along with my video about why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never needed the Avengers, and that's because of the different powered people on their team, as well as the fact that if every, larger level event was an Avengers film, every MCU movie would be an Avengers film. So that kind of shows how they were able to connect things and have their own separate events while staying in the timeline of what was going on at the MCU and Marvel Studios. So that's about all I have for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, consider subscribing, because I do have some more Why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Canon videos coming up. Thank you for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.